I gotta ask you a question.
Why am I nervous? What?
Do you think that Tootsie Rolls are doing okay? Do you think we're...
Oh my God.
Oh my God!
Tootsie, are you here with us?
Mr. Roll?
Well, I wish. I wish he could roll this Tootsie right up my buttsie. I think that Tootsie Rolls aren't doing how they were expected to do in Q4.
Well, I imagine that they had a really good
Run. Yeah.
I feel like they had a really good run for a really long time, but I
Yeah.
saw a Tootsie Roll in my parents' house just now.
Yeah.
I saw
I saw them too.
I saw...
I saw them too. And I didn't just see them.
Did you experience their
I had
full
about 5.
sensation? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they're here.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I saw those Tootsie Rolls today, and I said to myself, this is something that children who are born in the year 2024 will look at like we look at like sugar daddies.
It's crazy that
Bit-o
you said
honeys.
sugar bit of honeys.
You know what I mean? They're gonna
Because-
be like, this is old people candy.
Because I think when it comes to old people candy, it's if I was to group bit of honey with sugar daddy and sugar baby,
Is it the wax? Is it
it's
the
a
wax
waxy
wrapper?
candy. It's when you put it in your mouth, you're
a struggle.
chewing. So I can understand why there probably was a resurgence of dentists and dental work.
Was
and
there?
I think about my parents, and I think about their teeth not doing well.
Well,
and I'll tell you
think
why.
It was the bit of honeys.
100%. 100%.
So what's your explanation?
I grew up in a household with bit of honeys.
Yeah, I grew up in a household with bit of honeys.
It's like you would go to the movie theaters and there was bit of honey.
That was always like, but that was for me, like the task of being given something like a bit of honey to eat. I'm like, the labor far outweighs the
Yeah.
enjoyment that I receive from this thing. I'll just suck in a sugar packet if I have to, like, and I have.
And I would. And I'll tell
I
you
used to
another
just take
thing
full tablespoons.
with
I've
wax.
said this before.
With waxy candies. Those bottle shits that you suck.
I love
you suck
those.
the juice
but
dry.
those are a little bit haunting. Those are a little bit like, what is that? What is that in there?
What is there? It's not enough.
It's like you're getting a wax soda bottle with about 3 milliliters maximum
Max.
of a strange colored like melted ice pop liquid.
That you had to bite the
You
cap
had
off.
to bite. You had to chew through the wax, suck out that liquid.
We're eating
it's
candles.
it's about labor analysis here. Much more effort than reward.
Completely agree.
And then you have like a little bit of wax on your teeth.
And you know what? A little bit of a waste. I think that where we've went with candy is like now we just put everything in a bag, unwrapped.
But I have to wonder if the wax is more sustainable than the plastic. I have to assume.
Well, I mean, the
How does
wax.
wax break down? Can someone let me know?
I can tell you how it breaks down when it's stripped on my body.
Are you into wax play?
I've done it once.
Have you?
I have. And it was definitely like, because as you know, my nipples aren't sensitive. They're not very sensitive.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
So I know. And I'm trying to work on that because like there's nothing, I just want someone to be able to suck and I can feel it.
Yeah, it's crazy when that happens.
I know.
It's crazy when you unlock the sensitivity. I think it's an FFK issue. I think that growing up fat, like you like learn to desensitize your nipples
Yeah.
in some way, but like once you open up your third nipple, it all changes.
And like once you like clamp them a bit, I feel like once I'm like, because I feel like you
I
were
think
like
it's more
clamping.
mentality, Andrew. I really think
It's
it
a
comes down
mental
to- I think
state?
it's completely mental. I think it's completely mental vibes.
Oh my God. And I have a lot of things to work through first before I can
Exactly.
get to
You
the
have to
nipple
free
play.
yourself, Jesse Ware. And then
Okay.
once you do that, your nipples you'll start to feel sensitivity.
Okay, I think down the line of things I need to work on,
That
my,
should be, like,
my
at the
sucking
bottom
nipples
of
are
the
like,
list.
yeah, it's probably at like a 37 on the list so far.
Focus on more of the real
that's about
medical
mid.
emergencies,
Yeah.
mental and physical.
But yeah, I will say like when like wax dripped on your body feels very nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it's
is-
definitely
it
like
is fun.
ooh.
Yes.
And I get it. And I think that like wax in general, I mean, stick a finger in my ear.
Well, you have a very waxy ear, and you historically have.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about a waxy ear, if you want to hear me speak about it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that I was insecure about when I was growing up because people always bullied the kid with a waxy ear. When there was enough wax to fill to almost like if though you were like
candle.
you took a measuring cup to the flower and you leveled it out.
Yeah.
When that was what it looked like in your ear, that it was just leveled out to your ear. You know what I
Andrew,
mean?
who? You?
I've been there, but I've seen people's because I'm looking in your ear. Regardless if I just met you, if I've known you, I'm gonna look in your ear. And I think that when it comes to wax, people always bully those kids. But when I learned that you really shouldn't be cleaning those ears.
Well, you should be cleaning your ears. You should be cleaning your
You
ears.
yell at me.
Because you use a Q-tip, and you shouldn't be using a Q-tip.
Then what am I supposed to be using?
The ear scoopers. The scoopers with a little hole. You know the ones. They almost look like... I was obsessed with these. You know what I'm talking about. You don't act like... Don't play dumb.
You think that I'm frequenting ear scoops?
It's like a
Tostitos for
Q-tip.
ears?
It's like a Q-tip, but it's not single use. It's plastic, and it has like a bumper, so you can't get too deep, so you can't rupture eardrum, which we know you would hand a whore bath yourself in a second if you could. And then it has like a single prong, and in that prong there's a little loop, and that loop is what scoops.
Joe, I actually would love. I need you to send me the link. I've never seen an ear scooper.
Oh, I was scooping all the time.
No, I was Q-tipping, and that's how they market
That's
it.
why you can't hear, because you've been shoving and shoving and shoving wax up against your eardrum.
I've just been shoving things in places
Where you shouldn't be.
Too deep.
You've been shoving
And-
things, and the lesson is stop shoving.
because you'll start bleeding.
Good children. Oh my God.
Whoa. That was our best intro ever.
That was really genuinely insane, I think. I'm really proud of us. Hey guys, and welcome back to Good Children, the podcast for hosts Joe Hegyes.
And Andrew Muscarella reflect on their 23 years of friendship,
Growing up in the late 2000s.
early 2010s,
And all of the nostalgia
trauma.
and insecurities that go along with it.
I just feel like this is such a common theme for us. It's just like, what's beautiful about this podcast is that insecurities continue to grow and they continue to evolve.
Well, I'm honestly getting really inspired by Charli's new album. I feel like Brat is all about like being a hot girl, being out there, being a party girl, but also kind of acknowledging like the things that make you really feel insecure at night and like make you feel embarrassed, but you still have to show up and like be your hottest self and like put on this persona. And I think that what we can do today is really lean into those things that we actually... Sorry, Laura just showed up for a second.
Sometimes that happens.
New Zealand. Yeah, just like Brat. I feel like it's a fun episode. I'm not saying that we have to sit here and say we don't like our lower stomachs.
No, yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'm enough. I'm over talking about my lower stomach, okay, you guys? Because if you haven't clocked it already, we're insecure about it. But at this point, I let it jiggle, jaggle, and do a Irish jiggle along the road. I don't care. Okay?
But instead, this is just going to be... I think it's a really loose theme. I think it's kind of going to be... We're going to talk about whatever we want this week. But when we need to get back down to it, it's like the things that kind of keep you up at night. The things that, you know, make you keep the candle burning and make you grapple with the idea of being a human at night.
Which, the way that you pitch that's really scary.
Yeah, you know what I
actually.
mean? But having
Could be a
fun with
scary
it.
episode.
And then still
Yeah.
being hot girls and like partying and like blowing up the fucking Grammys. You know what I mean?
I completely know what you mean.
Yeah.
So, like, what are you insecure about right now?
Right this instant.
Right this instant, like,
I
right
have
now.
to say, like, out of the gate, I think I'm in a decent place with my body, which
Yes.
is genuinely shocking because I have not been to a gym in like 2.5 to 3 weeks. And that usually makes me want to kill myself.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
not for any other reason, but just like I need the endorphins or I'm suicidal.
Yeah.
So
It's like, how can you...
I've been shockingly operating at a pretty steady baseline,
Good.
which is nice.
You seem very at peace, and I don't know what you needed peace from, but I just feel like
I think it was that
whole
goddamn apartment.
I agree.
I really do think my entire vibe shifted the moment I got out of there. But body is like kind of off. I mean, we'll get into it. I could always find things to think and talk about.
For sure.
But in terms of insecurities right now,
And it doesn't have to be like, I don't even know. Maybe it's like in social situations, something that like you've been feeling.
That's what I'm
anything.
saying. Well, I mean, always in social situations, I just feel like I don't know how to talk to people. You know what I mean? Like, and that really stresses me out.
But I think as of late, though, you have been transitioning into a place where you are the one that I've been seeing initiating conversation over me.
Well, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Growing up, I don't know what makes me so self-conscious about speaking to people. I just have realized that now as an adult, that can come off as just being rude. Like,
Yeah.
I've realized that that is the case, and I don't want to be known for being rude in social situations. But like, sometimes it's genuinely like, I'd rather sit in silence in the corner and like not speak to anyone, because it feels like the pressure to like the anxiety that comes with a new conversation with a stranger is like so much worse than just standing there and standing on my phone.
Do you think it has to do with like you grew up with a speech impediment?
That's what I was going to say. I really do think it has to do it like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you immediately say that, because that's what I was thinking. Like, I feel like the anxiety of starting a conversation when I was like less in control of my voice, like, and someone asking me like what I said like 15 times,
Yeah.
like it would shot me down so much as like a teenager, where I was like, I'd rather just not speak. And that's why the internet was so beneficial.
Because I think that you are not somebody who lacks intelligence or like, you know, a conversation that would continue to flow. But yeah, you second guess anything that you would say.
Yes, forever.
And how you would say it. And people would
Yeah.
do the same exact thing when they heard you speak.
Yes,
Oh, that's tough.
I know.
And then do you think that that's what made you people classify you sometimes as being standoffish? Because you're really not.
No, I actually think I genuinely am shockingly not.
I think that you're
even
not.
the character I may portray week by week here seems it, but I think that like in social settings, my goal is to make sure everyone is having a good time.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
Because there's nothing worse than people thinking that you're intimidating when you're
know.
actually not.
yeah, like you could just speak to me.
Yeah.
Like but then again, it's like, I feel like I do give off that presence, because it's like literally anxiety. It's
Yeah.
just like, okay, no one actually speak to me, because I'm gonna have a panic attack.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm outgrowing that. I
Yeah.
feel like I kind of don't have the choice. I thought about it recently, because of this podcast. I have met more people in the past 2 years than I think I probably met in my entire life. Like, you know, even just in terms of like meet and greets.
Oh yeah.
I have had to initiate and hold conversation with thousands of people in the past 2 years, which also makes it hard to remember people's faces and names.
I know, and
I'm
it makes
really
me
bad at that
sad.
now.
And I used to be so good at it, like that. Even like when I was coaching or anything, I would always remember somebody's name and then be able to like remember something about them. But when we're seeing people on the street or they're coming up to us and they're like, "I saw you at the Boston show," and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't."
But
really
not even just
remember.
listener, like just people like my friends.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so bad at remembering if I've met people before.
I know the party this weekend. I was like, "Oh my
And, like,
god, it's nice to meet you." And again, we've said this before. Let's throw that line out the door,
Good to see
out the
you.
window. Good to see you. Not
How
again.
good to
Never
see
use
you.
the word again.
Do you remember any situation where someone hasn't remembered you in a social setting and hasn't made you feel like shit?
I mean, yes. And I think it was more when it came to another man that I was interested in. And it was like from a friend group. I don't know the specific situation, but I know I've been in them before where I feel like I remember people that I might be interested in and they are not interested in me in that way. So I hold on to that one time that I've
Yeah,
ever
of
spoke to them.
course.
And then they'll see me again. They'll be like, "Have we met before?" And I'm like, well,
You're like,
yeah.
actually, it was Romeo and Juliet for me. It's kind of crazy.
In my head, we got married 3 times over. And
I've
like,
been thinking about you every night before I go to sleep for the past 3 months.
yeah, we vacationed on the Amalfi Coast. What are you talking about? But yeah, so I think it's like those situations. But it is always mortifying when nobody remembers you, because I think that I at least try to do a job of feeling memorable to people, which is also something that to think about. Like, why am I trying to have people remember me? It's like
Well,
back
why?
to J-Lo.
Well, why?
Remember Me. Is that her movie?
That's.
Am I?
I don't think that she's in. Remember Me? Isn't that the 9/11 movie with Robert Pattinson?
You're right. You're so right. But I don't know why my brain went to J-Lo. That's beside the point. It is the movie Remember Me. And I do unfortunately remember all of it.
Maybe J-Lo. I feel like you must be right. I feel like she must have something to do
No,
with the
I'm
name.
thinking, what's the one with Owen Wilson and J-Lo? The one that like recently came out that they were like, oh,
Marry Me?
marry me.
Okay.
It was just me. The commonality
Yeah,
of
the
the
commonality
word
was sort of
me.
me. Yeah, I understand.
So anyways, but what was I saying?
You were saying that like like you like want people to remember you.
Yeah, I want people to remember me. So I think that like when I get into social situations and I feel like I am not present or
It
anxious, it
sucks.
sucks because you're like,
sucks.
I'm gonna leave this situation.
And everyone's gonna be like,
Who is that?
yeah. I feel like you brought this up today to me earlier for a different reason, but I feel like for you, I mean, we have different expectations when we enter a social setting. For me, I actually think if I don't do anything, if I am in the background, no one's going to be that surprised. And if
Yeah.
I do, it's like, oh, wow. But for you, like, you kind of can't take a day off. You kind of always have to be like jumping around and making everyone laugh 24/7.
Because if I'm not, it's
like,
are you good?
are you
Is
okay?
everything okay?
Yeah.
And I've experienced that lately.
Well, are you good? Is everything okay?
Well, I would say that as a human being, you know, people go through things, and I think that's completely normal. And whether I'm comfortable sharing everything that I'm going through, that's on me to withhold some information.
Yes.
But generally speaking, I am good.
That's amazing.
But yesterday I was telling Joe when we got off the train today, I was definitely sobbing because it just like kind of all hit me at once that I was like, whether it's dating, whether it's meeting people, whether it's social situations, you fail to recognize that sometimes when you are the entertainer or you feel like you need to entertain people, that like it's so energy draining that I think it was a weekend of me doing different things and being on. And I was like, there's points where you don't want to be a clown in someone's circus, right? Like I go on dates with these men and I'm like, oh my God, if I'm not making them laugh, like they're not interested in me. Or if I'm in a social situation and I'm not like the one that's like at the end, like throwing in a little zinger, like I'm not wanted here. So it's
And
something
I feel like I've clocked your tea lately where there's
Yeah.
been moments socially where like I can see that you're depleted boots and you're still throwing in a little
Yeah.
one-liner at the end of a sentence and like trying to make everyone laugh. And I'm like,
Garrett's birthday dinner. I was depleted boots.
yeah.
I was like, I was just like, I couldn't even.
I was like, this is giving like Robin Williams.
Oh my God.
I was like, this is just like the funniest person in the room, like needs a second, like needs to make sure that he's okay.
I can't believe I was just compared to
I'm sorry, I've been having that thought.
The trajectory
it's such
of
a
his
horrible
career.
thought. Well, I mean, amazing career.
Amazing. I would love to be cast as the next Mrs. Doubtfire.
I would love to be cast as him in the birdcage.
I get that. But I wouldn't love to see what was happened to me.
No,
when,
of
like,
course not. But it's just like usually those people who are like the funniest, bubbliest, loudest person who like makes everyone laugh they're obviously struggling.
Correct.
And I really have really been reckoning with that with you lately, where I'm like, he needs a second.
Because think about it. Where did my humor come from?
Defense.
Right? Defense.
Yeah.
And I was clearly as a kid struggling
Right.
with so many different things, whether it was my body, whether it was being gay, whether it was what was happening that like I didn't feel comfortable sharing. So it was so easy to deflect and be on the defense and make people laugh. So it's like when that is your coping mechanism is humor and comedy, it's like that's what you're seen as and you're like, oh, he's just so funny.
Right.
And I'm like, girl.
Because it's like you'd rather be seen as funny than fat or gay.
Yeah.
Or,
But then there are moments where I'm like, I actually can be so real. But I feel like sometimes I withhold that because that to me is the most intimate form of conversation.
well, yeah, it kind of is. Kind of point blank, period.
So I will continue to be a clown in someone's circus, but I think that I am kind of over giving all of my energy to people that don't deserve the energy from me.
I agree.
And I can recognize that. And it's taken time, and people have said that to me. I'll never forget. You have said it to me. Friends have said it to me. The president of my a cappella group, TJ, I know you're listening, said it to me when I met with him a few years ago, being like, you were friends with some people in college that I think took a lot from you and they didn't give you much in return. So I just want you to recognize that going forward, that you deserve to be met at the same playing field. So that's kind of my learning lesson. I guess that's insecurity as well, but something I'm working on
Yeah.
and can reflect on.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I feel like you're on the beginning of a new journey.
I kind of completely agree with you. And I think that is also going to help a lot with like confidence in so many different spaces.
Yeah.
Body wise though, I'm feeling amazing.
Are you?
I actually am feeling amazing. Besides like some of the pimples I have on my body right now, I'm feeling really good. I know, and they're coming back.
They're kind of. I'm getting them too though right now. I wonder if it's like moving stress and just like sweat and like it's summer.
Because
like,
I'm washing.
your body.
Yes.
You got soap finally.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it.
Okay, I get it.
If you want to say it, you can, but it's not my story to tell.
You think it's embarrassing to even mention?
What you've been doing?
Yeah. I just feel like I see soap. I'm recognizing that I should see soaps differently. And I was using a shampoo conditioner 2-in-1 for my body, and
For
I
how
get
long?
it. I'm so scared, you guys, because I know everyone out there is thinking something about me. But I guess another insecure, like I shouldn't think about what other people think about me. For how long? I'd say about
3 months. Is that what you said?
yeah.
Okay.
It smelled amazing. It smelled like a manly cologne, and I loved smelling like that. And I don't think that my hair just deserves to smell like that. I think that my body also deserves to smell like that. And when it comes to soap in general, if it's cleaning the follicles of my hair, it can for sure clean the follicles of my body.
I don't think that you're wrong about that. Like, I can't argue the science just because I don't really know it and I can't really speak to it. I just do find it like an example of like, where's your will to live check-in? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because it's
yeah.
like at some point, like if you're taking a shower, you run out of soap, you're like, I have to make things work. Sometimes if I like use my soap, I'll like use my facial cleanser. And like after like 2 days of doing that, I'm like, let me get a grip and go to the store and get more soap because I need soap to clean my body. And it just feels like for you, at times you could overlook something for potentially 3 months until someone asks you what you've been doing for soap.
I recognize that I've done that with like a lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
A lot of like, and again, I would consider myself if there was a spectrum, which there always is, of cleanliness, I would say I fall somewhere right above the middle.
Above.
Oh my God, Joe, I think I'm above. I shower, I brush, I wash.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? And like, yeah. So I think that I definitely am like would be considered cleanly. So let's not get it twisted out there. But I would say that I'm somebody who lets situations get to a point where they should have never gotten to, because I just had them. I'm like, I have this and I'm good with what I have. And sometimes you don't need the extra. But if I'm squeezing that toothpaste for that little last drop, why?
Why?
Why? Because I have the funds to get another toothpaste, right? Like
That's the thing.
I have the ability to walk these.
But again, I
legs.
recognize that I think that the maximum, maybe I would honestly give 5 days is the maximum like lazy window where you're like, I'll keep making the toothpaste work for me.
Yeah, you think 90 with the soap was too much?
I think 90 is where it's like something deeper has to be unpacked. Like it's like something serious is happening here. Rachel.
Yeah.
This is serious.
I guess it was kind of trial and error for me. Mm-hmm. Was that
You're
like,
in a way you're being a scientist.
I really think that I'm breaking down a lot of societal norms when it comes to like learning different things, because if I learned anything from that 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner for my body felt pretty clean. And it smelled amazing.
We were at Ben Platt. I thought someone ordered a bloomin' onion. And I didn't even think it was you. I said, who stinks? Who stinks?
And then you know what I did? I did that quick raise of the arm fan. Well, I smelt me. And then what I did was, because when your friend asks or says, oh my God, it smells in here, and then like, it can't be me, you smell your pit first. Obviously, that's always the first step. And then what I do next is I throw my arm up and then I wave my body. You know what I mean? I almost do like some sort of like oblique crunch. Yeah. And then I let Joe get a waft. Just because I feel like that's what is expected. From a friend.
Yeah.
Not realizing sometimes when you are that person that does smell like they just came out of
An Outback
an Outback
Steakhouse.
Steakhouse, that there was like some sort of sizzling fajita that came to the table. It is mortifying when you can recognize that another person can smell you. When they can
Especially when you're at the Palace Theater watching Ben Platt and Kristen Chenoweth perform. Especially in that moment.
Because I wouldn't say that in that moment I wouldn't not be sweating. Like, obviously I was sweating. Like, it was a really great performance that was going on. So when you're like excited about something, you would expect to perspirate a little bit.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's just like that's usually where deodorant.
I was
and soap,
fueling
like,
fire.
That's usually where like the soap, I think, I would already have helped you a little bit.
Oh my God. Do you think it was the soap?
I think soap kills bacteria.
Well, you were saying to me you have to get a different
Yes,
deodorant.
well, because I know I asked you if you recently switched deodorants.
And I did.
And that I think maybe was part of the issue.
And I kept blaming it on the lavender.
Well, here's the thing, actually. And here, I'm going to finally join you in solidarity with stinking. Because I have a new soap, and it's lavender soap. And I took a shower.
stunk.
I got out of the shower yesterday to go to dinner, and I lifted my arm, and I was like, I just washed my entire body with soap, and I stink. And it was too late to do anything, so I had to just wear a tank top and go someplace stinking.
Do you think that just like while we think we might smell like Wendy's onions, like when it comes to our BO, it actually is just the smell of lavender?
That
because we
is
just
not
think that lavender stinks.
No, that's not lavender.
That's not the lavender you know. It's the lavender we know.
Oh my God.
It's really bad.
It's not even really bad because I have like, I've been just doing, I showered since then again with the lavender soap. I just want to stay in that lavender soap.
I want to stay in that lavender soap. You're right. And I think that that's Taylor Swift's influences. Like, we've been using a lot of lavender.
There's a lot of lavender around. And also lavender makes you sleepy. Lavender makes you sleepy.
Is that what it is?
That's why I can't wake up in the morning anymore.
That's why I barely have energy during the day, because there's lavender under my pits.
Lavender under your pits.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut the lavender out. I think that's going to be a first step.
No more lavender.
Because I can't enter any social situation
Afraid you stink.
Afraid, because there's nothing worse than walking into a space being
And
already
being
insecure that you
Yeah, I know.
stink.
I know.
And it's sad to see it in others. It's sad to see it in
When
others.
you see someone else insecure about the stinking,
You can tell in the face.
that they smell, that you smell.
That they know that they
you
smell.
Oh,
smell.
yeah.
They-
So it's always the moment your arms are really kept tight to the frame, and you're like, okay, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
So to bring it back to insecurities for a second, I was just thinking like something that really, I remember like the first time I got I started being aware of myself, I feel like was really in middle school. And I feel like I'm just curious, like if there was a situation for you where you remember the first time you became like really self-aware about something that you were insecure about, in middle school or something. Like,
Sweating.
was that the first thing for you?
I hate to keep it bringing it back. It wasn't necessarily
This is
a
the sweat
stinky
tour.
sweat.
It's the sweat tour.
It's the sweat. It is the sweat tour. No, one of my
Do you think
biggest.
there's two listeners who think that Charlie's on the podcast just moderating?
The first time that you did it, I was like,
I was watching you be gagged. It's
kinda-
not a bad impression.
Joe, it's really good, because at first it could just be British.
But there's something, because I realized something about Charlie's speaking voice is she holds back a lot. Like she's really pushing her voice into like the back of her throat. So it's like a little bit more like trying to like not speak at your full volume and like just kind of meandering about it.
No, it's really, really good.
you.
I think that like, if any. Oh, and I will say, speaking of British accents, though, I'm not going to do it for you on the podcast
Can
right
you do
now.
it? Try it out.
No, I don't want to do it, because I think that this is my thing. This is another one of my biggest insecurities.
Oh, Jesus
And I'll get back
Christ.
into my sweating.
Yeah, we'll get there.
What I hate is when someone tells me to do something.
I understand.
And I'm not.
Sing
It's
for us, clown.
Exactly. I think that's where I experience control in my life, is like and looking back on it, obviously I've always wanted attention, right? I have a podcast, but I would be able to be in control of commanding that attention if I was like doing a high kick or whatever. When
The
you're
moment someone says, Andrew, do a high kick.
done. Andrew, that's why, and I know I fixate on them, dance circles, right? When you're at a wedding or any
You're
event.
always talking about this shit.
Because that is my anxiety in real time. It's like, yeah, I would be dancing on the dance floor, but then once it's like, go, do it, get in
and
the
you have
center.
you have to like smile through the dance and like pretend that you don't want to die in that moment.
And it's like all of a sudden they've lost any function to dance, and it's like
You're
suddenly
like,
I'm using my pointer finger, and like, where did that come from? Exactly.
The worst is walking in at a wedding. I'm sorry. When you're in a wedding party and you have to walk in through the doors,
Joe,
we have to do something about this as a culture.
I completely agree.
Because I'm signing up to be in your wedding. I'm signing up to be there for you to invest $1,500 to $4,000
Yes.
in your bachelorette party.
Yes.
And in buying a tuxedo, buying a dress.
Yes.
To show up for the hotel. I did not sign up for the public humiliation of having to enter a catering hall with a newfound dance partner.
Yeah.
That I had to
I just met.
I just met them, and we had to choreograph an entrance routine like it's Mia Thermopolis.
Yes.
Within 10 seconds of being whisked into the ballroom.
And I'll tell you one thing. Hang up those fishing rods.
I'm sick of this shit.
Hang up the fishing rods.
I'm sick of this shit.
You're pulling them in. You're reeling them in.
We've seen it all before. We've seen it all before.
Because it's easy to be the reeler, but it's really hard to play a blowfish. But when you're good at blowing, you can do anything. Sorry.
See, and that's where I feel Robin. That's where I feel Mr. Williams.
I think that you're going to start doing this to me.
Is it going to manifest in a bad way?
Well, check it in 30 years.
I just sometimes I'm like, he's just throwing in that last joke, and it makes me so sad.
I am always throwing in the last joke, but it's
usually becomes really at your expense by the end, the joke.
It'll always be like, and then I like, yes, sometimes people shit their pants. And then it's like, oh, and like that will be the social cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it happens in real life a lot too. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it is always at the expense of me. But I think that when you do that, like for me at least, like I can laugh at myself and it is funny. And I know what I'm telling is sometimes not the truth, but sometimes it doesn't read.
Right.
It reads for like, you can read through it, but
Yeah.
some people just don't read.
Some people don't read.
And they can't read this.
What is that Matt Maisie Peters line? I'm the Iliad, you could never read me. What is that Twink in the Redhead line?
Yeah.
Iliad.
Everyone's
talking about the Iliad.
Everyone's talking about the Iliad. No, she was
She's like,
I just think you're the man.
She says something like, but I'm the Iliad, you couldn't read me.
Yeah, I think that like we can probably go with that line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I'm the Iliad and you can't understand me.
Yeah.
You can't read me. But yeah, so the commanding the attention part makes me sick.
Yeah.
Or
How
like,
did
yeah.
you get here? How did we get to this?
I don't actually know how I
Because
pivoted.
it was beginning to be about being in, it was because you were going to do a British accent.
Oh, yeah. So I was in my room the other day and I was like, you know what? Let me just try this because every single time I've done this, I doubt my abilities.
And that's where failure meets
Always.
franchise, always.
And
it's that moment.
And I think, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm
good.
sorry. Well, I'm sorry to you.
Have you been comparing?
My whole life.
It's like me
Since I
with
was a
singing
kid.
with you.
Yeah,
It's like I'm never going to be a singer because you're a fantastic singer. You know what I mean?
And I thank you. And I think that we're both putting this behind us going
would love
forward.
to.
Like you're singing, like I'll start freely using my British accent.
Yeah.
But I was in my room doing it and I was like, oh my God, like I'm good at this. Like I can act actually.
Okay, this is what the breakthrough is for acting.
It was because I was like, that's one of your major things. It's like when you're getting into acting, they're like, what accents could you do? And I'm like, I could never do a British accent. But then I was doing it and I was like, this is very good. I don't know where I would be from necessarily in England, but I
wish you
definitely
would
think
do
that
it.
like,
I know I don't want to I'm not going to make you dance circle, but I wish we could hear it.
I know. I'll maybe this episode I'll lean into it at some point.
Yeah.
But back to the original question.
Yeah,
Like when
so
I was
when
in
your
middle
insecurities
school,
stop.
it's like we have to be medicated in the way that
Yeah.
it needs
So
to be
when did
flowing through my
insecurity
veins.
stop?
When I realized that one, I wasn't just big, but I was a big sweater. And it wasn't a big sweater from the pits, and I can only imagine what that must feel like for you.
That really kicked in for me, though, I feel like by the end of high school.
Yeah.
The pit sweat.
You think you were just getting really hairy down there?
Yeah.
Mine has always been under boob.
I know.
And it's why it's debilitating is because already you want to deflect from those milkers and you are only bringing more attention to it because they're like, oh, they're so big that they're creating a waterfall that's cascading down his entire body.
The Suez Canal runs through your body.
And you know what's worse about the sweat on your body is that it also creases where the rolls happen.
Yeah, I know. And that's also like a sunburn.
A sunburn where it's just like red lines down your body as if though you just got a pattern done. It, and that's why you like for so long I still need to consciously choose to sit regularly.
Yeah,
at the beach.
otherwise the rolls.
Because I'd be eating a sandwich fully reclined back in my chair because I knew that if I was to sit up normal like everybody else eating that sandwich, I would leave the beach looking like I'm wearing a pinstripe shirt.
Looking like a gondolier in Venice.
Exactly.
So
It's really, really sad.
yeah, so sweat. So you were like sitting in class. When was this? Like this is middle school vibes?
This is middle school vibes. And you can't put a temperature on that sweat, right?
Yeah, like, it could be any day.
It could be any day. It wasn't just summer, but that's why I hated the summer.
I know I hated the summer so much. It makes me so sad.
It makes me so sad. But yeah, that's my main thing. And then now it's manifested into like being an elderly man. And
What do you mean?
I would say like still now I'm experiencing it.
Being
obviously.
an elderly man?
Well, I would say that on my timeline I'd be considered elderly.
What do you mean though about sweating?
Yeah, I'm still sweating, and then now I'm like taking napkins to my sweat. I think that we have to normalize that though. I think it's okay if you're at a burger joint.
It's so crazy that we all have to pretend like we're not all sweating. Like it's insane. Like also I can't even imagine being a female presenting person and having to shave my body to the point of hairlessness to fit in with societal norms. Like, can you imagine? Like, it is so psychotic that like you can't exist as you are born. You have to literally pretend that you just magically don't have any hair on your armpits or your legs. Like it's insane. It's insane. It's like, why don't we all just be humans?
That's why when I see people growing out their hair, like
I'm always like, good for you.
Good for you. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine?
We would be working full time.
I needed to have an expectation to shave my entire body.
No, it'd be 3 hours a day minimum.
Yeah. I can't even I can't bring myself to get body wash down the road. The store's 3 minutes away. Imagine me having to shave my body. No.
I barely shave my balls.
Well, and that's why I think I've been out of commission for a second. I just can't get there.
So your first insecurity was really, it was sweat?
Well, I mean, if it's away from body.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I'm trying to think about, I'm trying to think about like the first time I was like, oh, there's something wrong with me. This is why I really do like Brat, and like also why I like all of Charli's music, is I feel like there's so much of it that she like confesses things that like empower the listener, which I guess is kind of what we do when we talk about this shit. Like, but hearing Charli, who like presents as like, again, the hot girl, potty girl, hearing her talk about being nervous and being anxious, like, and feeling jealousy and all that shit, I'm like, oh, like you talking about this frees you up from this thing, and also frees me up from just by hearing it. I feel like so much of my insecurities as a kid came from not discussing it. Like, I feel like the moment, like, that's also why I think this podcast has helped the both of us tremendously grow, is we just confess our deepest insecurities week after week.
Yeah.
But like, I will never forget like the amount of years I spent trying to cover up my stretch marks. Like the sheer amount of years of my adolescence.
I remember it for you.
Like it was hell on
I think
earth.
that we would like get to a point where we would compare our stretch marks.
Which is, at least that's why we were hanging out together.
And that's why we're still friends today. It's because it's like, again, you needed a friend that you can feel the most comfortable with. And like, not a lot of people feel like they can be like, oh, well, I have stretch marks on my stomach. Well, look at mine on my chest, or my arms, like my armpits. Like, yeah. It
is crazy. And it does make me really, really sad that not everyone got that. Like, we are so lucky.
Yeah.
Like, I literally can't imagine what I would have done.
Because,
you know, like, no, especially in the summer. Like, especially when the pool was in my backyard and it was like,
back to the tanning. It's like when you were getting color and the
would
stretch
only
marks wouldn't tan.
emphasize- It would only emphasize.
I would only
it.
emphasize.
I mean,
your stretch
still to
marks.
this day, anytime I get tan, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Forgot about all these. I used to like pray for the day that they would fade because when they were like really bright red, like fresh.
And I looked at stop. There's nothing worse than when you're in like high school and you're looking up what pregnant women use.
Yes, I know, and I bought it on Amazon.
Me too.
Like the shea butters and everything. Yeah.
I was rubbing different butters on my body thinking that like I had the same body as a pregnant woman.
Yeah. No, we suffered, like we were really trapped in our bodies in a really serious way. Like
We were.
It's crazy.
And my mom would always just be like, "You're a growing boy."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a growing boy."
But I'm like, is this supposed to
which
be happening?
way?
Like, yeah, right.
Which way am I growing?
But
huh?
I was always, I felt so betrayed by my own body. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like, because obviously I had it because of my weight, but also like I had such a massive growth spurt.
Yeah.
That like my shoulders and shit, this did not happen from weight. Like this
No.
happened just from literally
Growing.
stretching like the entirety of my arms forever, like literally everywhere on my body. But I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is just going to happen to me because I'm growing. Like, how did my body set myself up for that? That was a brutal time.
And
brutal.
and I will say thank God for Alessia Cara. Because if only that song came out earlier,
From Scars to You're Beautiful.
truly. And I understand it.
I still don't. We've talked about this so many times. I don't understand what the verbiage.
I don't get that either, but it's like from scars to you're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's from scars to you're beautiful. That's what she's saying there. You know what I mean? So I think that
It's still not clicking for me. I'm sorry. Like, she's Shakespeare. Like, it's really complicated for me to understand it.
I get it. I think that I think stretch marks were really bad. I think that sweating was bad. I think that another one that I recognized early on in school was I know that we've talked about my intelligence dysmorphia, but my biggest insecurity is being wrong. Right? I think that's normal, but like I actually wasn't really the person raising my hand in class because
God forbid you got it wrong.
God forbid I got it wrong. I then spiraled into everybody here. It's that moment, right? It's that feeling that when you get something wrong, now everybody is sitting in it, right? Everyone's like, but no one else is thinking.
No one gives
They
a
just got it
fuck.
wrong. But
Yeah.
all you can think about as the conversation continues is,
I can't believe how
believe it.
embarrassing this is.
I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed. And now Joe over there is thinking, not that you, but or like Sam is thinking he didn't know the answer. How could they trust me when they ask me a question? It would be like that.
Andrew, that's pretty severe.
No, Joe.
That's pretty severe.
And I got that early on.
That's pretty dark.
Correct. And that's why I was such a studier. Because I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this right. I'm going to be in control of knowing.
I just didn't give a fuck about that. That's something. I mean, I feel like I was very validated from a very young age with that shit. Like I didn't worry once about that.
I think that's why you oftentimes believe you're right, but that is the confidence
Yes.
that you exude, and it's the opposite for me.
Yeah.
So I'm somebody who have always believed you are right, so I go with what you know.
Right.
Because I'm like, no, I'm not right. Crazy. So
Scars to
you're
your
beautiful.
Stop doing that. Stop doing that.
You want to talk insecurity?
You're on camera.
I know. I don't know why I do it all the time.
What do you do? Can you explain it for the listeners at home?
Okay, so it's like what I do is any shirt that I'm wearing, it doesn't matter what size I am. Like if I'm bigger, if I'm smaller, it's just like a tick that I have. Like I always put my hands in my shirt and I like push it out, right? Like I just feel more comfortable this way. I guess it's because the cloth is not hitting my body, so you can't really see the makings of what's underneath. It's kind of like maybe you should undress me to see what's going on down there. That's not the case. It's like just stop looking. And I'm going to make myself, I'm either push my shirt out, I'm going to pinch my shirt.
I'm sorry, I'm going to make us go even darker today because
get
we
dark.
have to unpack that.
Let's
because
get
it's the same thing for me. I mean, it's why I stare at the monitor half the episode because I'm like, okay, how do I look? Like, there's something wrong with us.
Well, yes.
Like, no, but like, we're constantly mirrors for each other. Like, the idea that like you're spending your time conscious of God forbid, and this is basically what you just said about yourself is, God forbid anyone saw the shape of your body. God forbid. You'd rather shove your hands into your shirt and push your shirt out on camera the whole time than allow anyone to even get the suggestion of what you actually look like. Like, we really believe we're fooling people all day, we're getting away with a crime of existing.
That's exactly it.
You know what I mean? We think that we're tricking people.
Yeah.
So then it's like, and this was my big issue for dating for a really long time, is then the shirt comes off and then the jig is up. And now that person who's having sex with me, who's kissing me, who's on a date with me, if they choose to stick around for the rest of that date, I'm like, I was finally chosen. I've been chosen. They love me in spite of my goblinhood. They despite this thing that I hate so deeply about myself that I spend every waking moment trying to pretend it doesn't exist, to pretend this isn't me. This person still wants to be here. This must be the love of my life.
But it also just doesn't go, like, it goes away, but like it doesn't, because I even like, I see pictures of myself, and that's what makes me realize I'm crazy, because like I'll see myself in this podcast and I'm like, oh my God, whoa, I didn't think that's what I looked like. Or like a picture will be taking me, like the one me holding the cake. That day I was looking at myself in that shirt and I was like, I look insane in this shirt right now. And then I saw a picture of me and I was like, oh my God. It's like, again, you have a complete different image of who you are in your head.
I know.
That's dysmorphia.
And it's bad though. It's really bad.
Us at the beginning of the episode being like, I'm actually really good with my body.
I still think for the first time in a while I am feeling that way, but I am so aware of how constantly I'm aware of myself. Like,
being
physical
perceived.
Self. Yes.
It's just being perceived.
And actually, hold on, we got a call that I think might be interesting to kind of tie in here.
Hi, good children. This is Bree. I'm in Chicago girly. I always listen to the pod when I'm on my hot girl walks. I just had a thought, because it's like as I listen and I hear you guys, I always think about what it would be like to be, I guess, like a podcaster, or like be, in the space that you're in. And the first thought that comes to mind is like, oh my God, I would hate to see what I look like talking like every day. I feel like, and I don't know if the average person can relate to this, but somebody that doesn't obviously videotape themselves on a regular basis talking. I have really no clue about what I look like when I'm like, I don't know, just like talking, engaging, living my life. So yeah, a lot of dysmorphia there. So I'm curious, like, was that a big roadblock for both of you? Have we gotten over that? Have we not gotten over that? What are our thoughts? I guess same question, kind of the same question. What were some of the biggest obstacles or like things that surprised you that were hard to overcome starting pod? So kind of multi-layered question. Love you guys.
Thank you, Bree.
That was a loaded question.
I know, and it really kind of fits into exactly what we were just discussing.
It's perfectly. Do you want to start?
Well, I feel like for me, I don't know, we kind of started the podcast in what I would describe as, in our twisted mental states, our physical prime.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I kind of was like the most confident I ever was in what I looked like when we started it.
But to that point, it's like our biggest insecurities when we started the podcast, at least for me, was what I sounded like, my facial expressions, and also like the things we were discussing.
Right. For me, it was my hair.
Yeah.
That was honestly, I think, genuinely my only issue in the beginning. It was my hair. I think I worked through that stuff that you were dealing with, like with the content I was doing beforehand. So I was a little bit more like on my feet with it. I don't remember being insecure about the the subject matter.
I mean, I started with like, well, if you look back on those episodes though, I might have been at my physical prime, but I was always wearing something pretty baggy.
Yeah.
Like I was never like showing off really what my body looked like.
Right.
I think I do remember there was one episode maybe that I wore like a tank top or something that
Were
I
you
was
spiraling? Were you spiraling that?
I was spiraling, but I think someone said to me, it might have been you, but it was like that I was wearing baggy clothing. They're like, why are you wearing baggy clothing? It was like, I was wearing those polos. I was wearing those like big, like thrifted shirts. Like it was all to just like feel comfortable when I'm getting started with this. But I think that starting the podcast, why it was hard for me was like, again, it's so easy to hide behind a still image when you don't have a podcast.
Yeah.
It's so easy to curate a life that people think is real. And I think that when you start speaking and your mannerisms are brought into the situation and your voice is brought into the situation and your viewpoints and all those things, like that is what was hard for me, especially being single, especially being like, not a lot of people they knew I was gay, but like there was family things, right? There were like my cousins, my aunts, my parents, like people listening and tuning in for the first time and being like, whoa, this is him.
Yeah.
And that was the scariest part of starting.
True. That was a crazy time. If anything, I think for me as editing it, it's more about the social interaction that I live it once and then I watch it from God's point of view and then I edit it. Like there's like a crazy amount of observation of the two of us.
Yeah.
In a sick way.
And I think that with us, it's like at the beginning, at least, we were still trying to like cater to a larger audience or grab people in. And I think that a lot of the times I saw that as what we looked like, or if we didn't look good, people weren't gonna watch the clip or they weren't gonna like, and that, you know, that's a whole different like conversation. But I think we've gotten away from that. I think that you'll always deal with something. You're like, oh, is this fine? Is this fine? Like my hair, like whatever.
Right.
And you look back on it, you're like, oh my God, I wish someone told me about the back of my head. But I'm the only one thinking about it.
Yeah.
Brie, if you're watching and you were like, whoa, he should have really like puffed out his shirt a little bit.
She tuned into an episode and she was like, do you guys ever think about what you look like on camera, by the way? Just wondering.
Oh my God, so we look like shit?
I also feel like something that I really wasn't prepared for with it was like the way in which there'd become like sides. Like people would just like listen. I mean, especially for you, you're certainly more beloved than I am. Like, and that was a real interesting like mind fuck where I was like, hold on a second, like we're a duo. We do this together every single week. Why is it suddenly like Team Andrew?
Yeah.
And that like completely like not you, like nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And yet like that impacts our personal relationship with somebody.
Oh, for sure.
And that was a real massive, massive struggle where I was like, what's going on? Like, and it became the biggest insecurity in my entire life was like being measured up against you.
Yeah. My side was like, still to this day, and I feed into it, but like I know that I don't know if I'm perceived this way, but like I do feel like the dumb one, even though I'm not.
No,
right?
I know
but
it's
like
the characters.
It's the characters, and that to our point from before, it's like my biggest insecurity growing up was like I was the dumb one. So like I always wanted to prove people wrong, and that's why I was like so focused on my grades, right?
Right.
And being right, but like being right on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
As opposed to like what I'm saying. So like, oh, you didn't know this? Like, come on. Like even the clip of the Stonewall, right? Like cause now I'm helping with socials and like and it's been a learning curve, honestly, now posting because it was so easy for you. And I can't imagine like posting those clips and then you're the one that's consciously making the choice. Yeah. I'm making the choice to post that clip.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like I just know that people are gonna come for me even if it was like, cause it was very honest. Like I wasn't being like I can't even, I just didn't know. I didn't
Right.
see the Derek Barry clip.
Yes.
Like I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But like the amount of people that were even in my DMs, not being nasty, but they were just being like, you literally didn't know that. Like, I can't believe you didn't see this. And then I was like, oh, of course I wasn't clued into this pop culture moment.
Right.
So then it makes you spiral. But I think to your I'm beloved is to my I don't feel as intelligent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might not be clued into things that are going on pop culturally, but that doesn't justify intelligence
No.
in any sense of
Not
the
at all.
means. But I do believe it again it caters to different people. And I think that those different people, whether they see me as somebody who like whatever, or they see you as somebody different, like they're here.
Hi, Joe and Andrew. This is Caroline. I love the pod, obviously. That's why I'm calling. But basically my question is, I have had like a string of horrible friendships over the last decade. And I had a really close best friend that I was friends with for over 7 years. And that literally ended very tragically. And basically now I'm kind of on my own. So my question is, what would you say to someone who is struggling with being in a small town with like limited friendships, who really wants to branch out, and just kind of like get out of this small town? Like, I'm just tired of being, like trapped. So yeah, I guess I'm asking, what advice do you have for someone who, doesn't want to like let life pass them by? And also kind of like, how do you make friends as an adult? So thank you. Bye. Love the pod. And peace and love. And okay, bye.
Hi, Caroline.
On my own.
Oh, wow.
Pretending.
You're going to throw on my own on Caroline like that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Caroline.
Couldn't even be sweet?
No.
Couldn't even be sweet, Caroline?
Oh, it couldn't even be. I'm sure she gets it all the time.
Could be,
How many times is she hearing
Oh, Caroline,
on my own?
1975?
How many times is she hearing on my own? You know?
You're right. It was special.
Yeah. Okay, Caroline. I feel like I would say it's tough because I would be like, move.
Well, that's my first question. Is moving on the menu?
Yeah.
Because if moving's on the menu, I think it'd be a disservice to,
Stay where you're at.
well, unless it's like not an option. If it's,
Yeah.
because I think you could always make the best of every situation you're in, and there's definitely other people in your town who feel the same way. But if you can, I think it might be a really good thing for you to move, to see a new place.
And not everybody's a city person. And I also can recognize that. It's
Yeah.
like, you don't have to move to a big city, but I think that we're very fortunate that we did do that. And that's how we met a lot of people, is like just being surrounded by so many people. It's easier to meet people when you're an adult than being in your town and being like, okay, I kind of ran the gamut of all of the people that I knew. And I kind of have fell out of friendships with a lot of them, and they might be connected to each other. And now I kind of feel like, where do I start? Where do I begin? So I would say like definitely look into potentially moving, or like start maybe going to a city, or like just like visiting different places. Like even if that's a long distance friend, it's somebody that you can text and call and like be friendly
Well, I was
with.
going to say, I feel like for me, the main friend maker for a long time was the internet.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, to this day, I have close friends who I made on the internet. Like, who now everyone has moved to New York City. We all actually see each other in real life, which is really crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of crazy. Like, me, Alex, Alyssa, Tony,
That is like nuts that you guys
all
are
knew
in
each other from Tumblr when we were 15 years old. Like, if I could tell 15-year-old me that the friends I made on the internet as a teenager hang out in my apartment in Brooklyn together on a casual Tuesday night, and it's like not a big deal, that's crazy. I value the internet as a way to make friends. I don't know how you do it anymore because
I would say, Caroline, are you a patron? Because I hate to be that person who is telling you to pay for friends. It's $7 a month. But the thing is, if you're not already a patron, like just the way that the patrons interact with each other and like meet each other in real life without us there, or like we'll FaceTime or we'll call or we'll just DM each other. It's a community of people that
they
you
have
have
separate group chats
shared
without us
interest
in. They looped mom and dad out of the group chat.
Exactly. And it's nice. Like, again, yes, it might be Good Children's Patreon, but it also could be like something similar to that. Like, you know that you have an interest in
maybe there's a
cooking or whatever. Like, you can find groups of people that feel very similarly, and that's how you latch onto them.
Also, I know that it's hard I feel like I went through a series of like friend breakups for like 5 years, and it was like really hard, and I really blamed myself a lot for like it. And also I was like, well, there must be something wrong with me. But I think that it'll work itself out. Like, I think that you'll make the friends you're meant to make, and you'll do the things you're supposed to do. I don't think that life can pass you by. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can't miss the ship that's made for you. You can't miss the train that's coming for you. Like, it's coming for you. So it's not going to leave without you. The train won't leave the station. You're going to find everything you need and everything you want. It might require taking a leap, but you'll know when that leap is presented to you. You don't have to be crazy about it. But until then, the internet is really going to be a very useful tool. Well, you guys. It's another week. It's another week of this.
And you know what? It's sweet to end the episodes like this, even though I have no storage on my iPhone because there's so many videos. At least you guys can see us have physical touch.
I know, it's crazy.
I know.
Well, you know exactly where to find us across all platforms at Good Children Pod. I'm on Instagram at Joe Hegyes, and on TikTok at Be Quiet Joe.
I'm on Instagram at Andrew Muscarella, on TikTok at Andrew_Muskie. And don't forget to do your homework. Like, comment. I was like, why was it going to be the
goddamn homework?
I was going to say that, but you know what? Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review. And spread the word to your friends. I've been running into a lot of people who have been like,
spreading
because
spreading.
We tell them to spread it to at least 50 people,
and they're doing that.
And share to your stories. We love to see it. You know what I mean? Like, tag us.
Tag, we'll repost.
We literally will always.
And we'll see you on Friday for a brand new Patreon. $7 a month, one bonus episode every single Friday, and access to chitting and chatting and our post-episode discussion chats.
And if you're looking for a friend, that's the place to be.
Is that all?
I think that's it. I'm starving.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see you.
When you're in the party, pumping that beat. 666 in the Princess Suite. I'm so Julia. Bumping that. Bumping that.
Bumping that.
Actually, like, suddenly it's the Heimlich.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually have a heart attack.